Hey guys, welcome back to another Division 2 video. So the new weapon this season is the Oxpecker. It's an exotic SMG that's supposed to allow you to run a Crusader shield and heal it while you're in combat. And on paper, this sounds super promising. It sounds like we can play super aggressive while providing our own cover with the Crusader shield wherever we stand. Now, being a person whose bread and butter in this game is to run around with an AR and a Crusader shield, being able to switch it up and play with an SMG was quite intriguing. But how does this Oxpecker stand up in actual gameplay? Let's find out! So the first thing to note is that in this video we're going to be doing this without the seasonal modifiers. Because the seasonal modifiers are going to change every season, we just want to see how the Oxpecker does at its base. So here's the new Oxpecker SMG. You get it by getting to level 69 in the season pass, and it has this talent called Symbiosis. While having a shield deployed, lose shield health at a rate of 10% per second. Your shield receives repairs of 25% of the damage dealt by this weapon. So let's think about this for a second. So if our shield is going to lose 10% per second, that means the more health we have on our shield, the more health it's actually going to lose per second. And we're going to have a flat 25% repairs for the amount of damage dealt. So the stronger we make our shield, the harder it's going to be to repair, especially if you're giving up red cores for blue cores. Seems a little bit backwards to me, but let's see what we can do about this. So what we're going to try and do is boost our shield as much as possible while sacrificing the least amount of damage possible. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be running a striker gear set. So if you're going to run a striker gear set for the most damage possible, it's going to look something like this. It's going to be all red. You're going to be running the striker backpack with the Fox's Prayer knee pads, and you're going to be running a chest with Obliterate. Now with a setup like this, your shield is going to be tier 0. So your shield is going to be really weak, and you yourself are going to be very squishy. But the reason why this works is because of the St. Elmo's engine. It's very good at mid-range. So when we're using our shield, we're only going to be really deflecting stray bullets, and occasionally it's going to save us when we're one-on-one, possibly one-on-two with enemies. But when we're running an SMG, we're not going to be playing at mid-range. We're going to be all up in everyone's business. So this tier 0 shield is not going to work. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to run a 4-piece strikers. We're going to be using the mask, the gloves, the knees, and the holster this time. And instead of the backpack, we're going to be using the Memento backpack. Now if you didn't know, the Memento backpack is one of the best, if not the best backpack in the game for running and gunning. Now the first reason why we're going to be using this backpack is because it allows us to have a weapon damage core and an armor core. So this is going to keep our damage high while also boosting our tankiness a little bit. It also has the talent Kill Confirmed, which is also going to give us more weapon damage and bonus armor to help keep us alive. So the second reason why we're going to be using the Memento is because the Crusader shield actually scales with armor and skill tier cores. So the Memento is actually going to boost our shield from tier 0 up to tier 2. Now this says tier 3, we'll get into that next. So for our specialization, we're going to be running Technician. This is going to give us that added skill tier that's going to boost our shield up to tier 3. Not only that, we're going to be using this Artificer Hive. This is going to help repair our shield further. And another thing to quickly note is to have this SMG selected for an extra 15% SMG damage. So between our specialization and Memento, if we look at our Hive, we're going to be at tier 2, and we're going to have 36% skill repair. Now with this skill repair, it's going to periodically repair our shield while we're fighting. You can see right here, it's not a lot, but we're going to need everything we can get. Now if we go and look at our shield, we're going to be at tier 3, which is going to give us a decent amount of active regeneration and a little bit of holstered regeneration. And we're going to have 2.6 million health. Now if we look at the mod slots, I have active regeneration here, holstered regeneration here, and I believe you can have holstered regeneration here as well, but I don't have any mod slots that fit in here. So now let's look at our striker set. We're going to be running all red. We're going to be running weapon damage, crit chance, and crit damage in every slot, including the mod slots. Now for the chest, we're going to be running one piece of Sokolov for the 10% SMG damage. Again, you want weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage everywhere. Mine has armor regen, but that's just how it rolled. It's the best one I've got. I've got Intimidate on the talent, but you can also use Obliterate as well. Again, this is just the best piece that I have. So if you're feeling a little squishy, you can switch this for a Palisades chest piece for this armor on kill. But this is going to be harder to find because this rolls with an armor core natively. So you're going to need to find one with crit chance, crit damage, and either Obliterate or Intimidate already rolled on it so that you can change this armor core to a weapon core. Now let's look at this Oxpecker real quick. It's going to roll with SMG damage, crit chance, and this attribute down here is going to be random. Ideally you want damage to targets out of cover. Now if you have crit damage, that one's decent too, but ideally you want this. If you don't have either, you can go to the crafting station and try and re-roll it if you have the materials. Mine came with headshot damage and I got very lucky and re-rolled this first try. So now let's come up here and look at our stats real quick. You can see I have 52.6% crit chance and 117% crit damage. Now keep in mind that SMGs have a lot of crit chance built into them. So you want to make sure that you're not over 60% crit chance because the game is capped at 60%. If you're higher, that's just going to be wasted stats. And another thing to note is that if you're above 60%, say you're at like 65%, this number right here is not going to say 65%. It's still going to say 60. So what I would do is if you have exactly 60.0 here, I would take off some of your crit chance rolls and then come back and see what this says. So for example, if you're at 60.0 and you take off a 6% crit chance mod and this says 59.9, that means you had 5.9% crit chance that's just being wasted. So that's the build. So now let's go take this out for a spin. So here I'm playing a public execution and I'm playing it pretty aggressively. You can see I'm taking a fair bit of damage and we are keeping up with the Oxpecker. It's healing us just enough to keep us alive. Now we're going to go to the second wave and we're going to take quite a bit more damage here. So you can see it is keeping up. It's struggling, but it is keeping our shield from breaking. So now let's do that same public execution. We're going to be using the same exact build, except I'm going to be running just a regular vector with the talent killer, just to see how it compares without the heals. Now you can see I'm playing this pretty aggressively. Our shield is taking quite a bit of damage, but we are surviving without the Oxpecker healing our shield. Now let's run to the second wave. We're going to take quite a bit more damage here, and you can see that without the Oxpecker, we're actually going to have our shield break right at the very end. So the Oxpecker definitely does help keep our shield from breaking. So now let's see what kind of damage we can output. We're here at the end of the Lincoln Memorial mission, and you can see right here we can still one clip a named enemy. That was the first one. Another one clip. So the Oxpecker does quite a bit of damage as well. Take out this big grenade guy. Blow up his backpack, makes it pretty easy. Now if you're running a high damage build like this, the Oxpecker does heal your shield and prevent it from breaking in a lot of cases. But is running this build really worth it? Well, that's up for you to decide. Now with a gear set like Hunter's Fury that you would normally run with SMG, it has built-in defense, it has armor on kill, and the 4-piece bonus is going to provide crowd control. So with a gear set like Hunter's Fury, you don't even really need a shield in the first place. And without a shield, the Oxpecker is kind of pointless. It's basically a wasted talent on a gun. So if you ask me, the Oxpecker is not really worth it. It kind of falls into the category of just okay. You can see it still does heroic, but it's nothing amazing. With it being a new gun, it needs to be fun and it needs to be powerful if people are going to play it, especially when we have stuff like Hunter's Fury that already exists. With the way this is now, I don't see anyone choosing this over a Hunter's Fury setup. What I think it needs is maybe a little bit more damage repair, and it needs to remove the decaying damage on the shield just altogether. Because we're going to be taking so much incoming damage that we don't need extra help chunking down our shield. But anyway, there's the build, guys. Let me know what you think of the Oxpecker. Are you using it like this, or are you using it with another build that's working out for you? Let me know in the comments. But that's the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.